Hello, everyone, and welcome back. For those of you who've seen my videos, if you haven't, my name's Matt, and I'm a recovering alcoholic, an addict. I also live with multiple mental health disorders today, and I'm also a survivor of multiple suicide attempts. Um, I wanted to take a quick second to thank everybody who's been watching my videos. I really never thought that this many people would be interested. Um, it makes me feel good knowing that maybe I'm helping somebody out there. So thank you, and please continue to watch these videos. Please continue to share uh, the video about the resource page. I really want this thing to go national. I really want to be able to help as many people as possible, and I can't do that alone. I need help. I need all the help I can get. I recently had one of my viewers ask for me to talk a little bit more about spirituality and how it's affected my recovery. Um, in a recent video, I referenced a moment of clarity, and I've heard it said, I didn't make it up myself. I've heard it said that a moment of clarity is that moment when God paralyzes the liar in you long enough for you to see the truth. And that's what happened to me. That's how my recovery started. God paralyzed the liar in me that was telling me that um, covering up everything with alcohol and drugs was okay and it was working and I was just fine. But I wasn't, you know. And when he paralyzed the liar in me long enough for me to see the truth, I could see that what I was doing wasn't working and that I needed to do something else. Um, it's a little touchy talking about spirituality. In my opinion, but I'm going to try my best to do it anyway. First, I want people to understand that spirituality and religion are two separate things. Um, in most religions, you're you're told what to believe in and how to believe in it and how to worship the God you've been given and how to give thanks to the God you've been given and um, that works for a lot of people, you know, but it's not for everybody. Um, with spirituality, I'm given a choice to believe in what I want to believe in. Um, I think the main component to it is, and I've been told, is believing in something greater than myself. I've talked about my thinking in some of these videos and how I don't think right. And um, what I've learned is that I can't solve my problems with the same thinking that created my problems. So I must have help from something more powerful than me. Um, a lot of people still believe that power is God. Some people don't. Some people just believe in the universe, which is definitely a power greater than all of us. Um, and there are other things that other people believe in too. Um, I think the most important part is that whatever it is, it works for you. I've said that before in my videos, and that's the key to recovery is finding what works for you. For me, it's spirituality and believing in a higher power that I call God. Um, I haven't always been that way. When I was younger, I was taken to church until I was about 10 years old. And then I was given the choice of whether or not I wanted to go, and I stopped going. And I can't really say that I turned my back on God. Um, I just didn't really think about it anymore. You know, it wasn't something that I was concerned with. Um, Probably mostly because I was so consumed by self. You know, my main concern was me and what can I do to make me feel better. You know, I didn't realize that this power greater than me could do that for me. A little bit about how spirituality has affected my recovery. Um, I was after my suicide attempt that led me to recovery. Um, I was placed in a treatment center for adult males, um, which was a behavior modification model place. Um, there was a lady there who brought in a meeting from the outside, and I started to talk to her one day after spending the day with my mother. I was out with my mother all day helping her grocery shopping, odd jobs around the house, and the entire time I was with her, I kept hearing um, in my head, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want." It just kept repeating over and over in my head, and I didn't say anything to anybody about it because, to be honest with you, I thought maybe I was going crazy. Um, a spiritual experience can do that to people, can make us feel like there's something wrong with us, um, but there's not. So I went back to the treatment center that night and I ended up talking to this lady who was bringing these meetings in, and um, found out that she knew my mom and she had heard about my mom's recovery journey and wanted to hear my story. So I sat down and I shared my story with her. And afterwards, she said she had to leave, but asked me if I would pray with her. And I was just maybe 2 months into recovery, and hadn't really prayed that much. Um, I still don't pray out loud. That's my choice. Um, I still don't pray with other people unless it was my wife or my children. Um, those are the only people I've ever prayed with besides this lady. So she asked if I would pray with her before she left, and I said yes. And she put out her hands, and I put my hands in her hands, and she put her head down, shut her eyes. So I put my head down, shut my eyes, and she started praying out loud. And I thought, oh boy. And she gets done, she gets quiet for a little bit, and suddenly I hear her say, God spoke to me. And my first thought, honestly, was, great, this lady's crazy. But she looked up at me and she said, God told me that he's preparing you to be a shepherd. Now, she didn't know that I had been talking to my mom that day about staying in this treatment center when I completed the program and helping guide other clients through the program. Um, and I feel like when she said that, that gave me my answer. That God was preparing me to be a shepherd. Um, I stayed there. I did that for a while, and over the years, um, this has continued to come up. I told you in one of my videos that I was doing um, a lot of speaking in jails and prisons and uh, in front of police officers at CIT trainings and um, different events for the company I was working for recently. Um, and that all came about um, because of my spirituality, because of that connection with the higher power. Um, that's why I wear this cross today. I was doing uh, some work, some service work in Boone County work camp, and some of the guys, after about a year and a half, made this cross for me as a little token of their appreciation, and I've kept it with me ever since. Um, keep losing my train of thought. So I'm doing these I'm doing these meetings, and a buddy of mine was going with me to the work camp, and uh, he had started going to church. And like I said, religion wasn't really my thing, still isn't today. But every Monday when we would leave the work camp, he would say, "Man, you got to come to church with me on Wednesday. You got to come to church with me on Wednesday. You're going to love it. It's great. You got to come to church with me on Wednesday." And finally, one Monday, um, I got tired of hearing it. And I said, "You know what? Fine, I'll go. But here's the deal. When I go and I don't like it, you shut up. Leave me alone about it." And that's the attitude I went into it with. I know I'm not going to like this, and just wanted to shut him up. So that Wednesday came, he picked me up. We went to church together, and we walked in. And I remember um, asking him where the pastor was, where's the guy in charge, who's running this thing. And he pointed to a gentleman up front, and he said, "That's him right there." And I looked over, and there's a man standing there with a ball cap on, um, gauges in his ears, a striped tank top, tattoos all up and down his arms, um, jeans, and Chuck Taylors. And I thought, well, this might not be that bad. So he before he started the service, he asked for examples from people of how God has been working in their life recently. And I sat there and listened to those stories, and um, I have to admit I did like that. Um, but then when he started to do the Bible study, it was like all of the lights in the room went dim except for one light that was on him. That didn't actually happen, but that's what I saw. And in my head, I heard, "I'm preparing you to be a shepherd." And my first thought was, great, now I'm going crazy. And everything this guy said spoke to me that night. It was all about helping other people. It was all about trying to lead other people. Um, and I had my head down most of the night, and I didn't know if I was going to cry or throw up, to be honest with you. Um, and he would say every once in a while, I know someone in here tonight is hearing something. And I would look up, and every time he was looking right at me. Um, he said, I wish every one of you would get up here and do this. And I said, no, he can't be talking about me. There's no way he's talking about me. If he knew the way I lived 20 years of my life, he wouldn't be talking about, it's not me. And as soon as that thought went through my mind, he said, if you knew what I did out there for 20 years, you wouldn't believe it. And I thought, no, it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. You know, um, but the whole night, he just kept saying, I know somebody out there's hearing something. I know somebody out there's hearing something. And every time I would look up, he was looking right at me. So we left the church that night, and I get in the truck with my buddy, and he looks at me and he's all happy, and he said, so what do you think? And I said, all right, I'll come back next week. And he said, what happened? So I told him. And the next week came, and I was working for a courier at the time. And if you're not, if you're familiar with the Northern Kentucky area, um, I was living in Hebron and working in Norwood up in Cincinnati. And Hebron is in Kentucky. And there's a 471 highway that takes you to 275 that'll take you up to where my shop was, or I think it's the other way around, 275 to 471, take you up to where the shop was. And I was driving a 14-foot box truck. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm stuck. This at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you cannot get onto 471 from 275. It's almost impossible. And I'm stuck in this box truck. It's 4 o'clock. We need to be at the church by 6. I still have to go all the way up to Norwood, drop that truck off, pick up my truck, and then get back to Hebron in time to get cleaned up and have dinner and make it to the church by 6. And my brain started telling me, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. There's just not enough time. Screw it. You're not going. And I was actually saying it out loud. It's like, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. Screw it. I'm not going to go. And I'm looking in my rearview mirror for a chance to get over. I wanted to get over, go down, turn around, and try from the other direction. And there's a semi in front of me, and I'm looking at my mirror for an opening, and I'm looking at the semi, and I'm looking at my mirror, looking at the semi. I look at my mirror, and I look back at the semi. And for some reason, I look down at the bumper of the semi, and on the bumper, someone had written, "The Lord is my shepherd." I threw my arms up in disbelief, and I said, all right, I'll go. I'll go. Fine, I'll go. And I took a picture of it because I knew nobody was going to believe me. So I made it to get my truck in time, made it home in time to get cleaned up, have dinner, go to the church that night. I was telling the story about that day to my wife over dinner, and I went to show her the picture. I said, I took a picture of this because nobody's going to believe it. And I opened up the picture and I said, and it was gone. there was nothing written on the bumper of the truck, which I'll admit freaked me out quite a bit. Um, but we went to the church that night anyway, and my wife at the time, who is still not really into church, um, decided she would go with us. She said, I got to see this for myself. So we went and nothing happened. It was just a normal Bible study. You know, the lights didn't go dim. I didn't hear anything. Um, but afterwards, something was telling me that I needed to go up there and talk to this pastor. So I went up and I talked to him and I started telling him about what happened the week before and what I was hearing. And he said, I know. And I said, what do you mean you know? And he said, why do you think I was looking at you? So I told him about the story from that day, trying to get onto 471. Told him about the picture I took. Told him that when I went to show it to my wife, there was nothing there. And I opened up the picture to show him, you know, because I was still just in disbelief. And when I opened up the picture to show him, it was there again. The Lord is my shepherd. And he said, yeah, I see it. It's right there. To be honest with you, um, not everybody has overwhelming spiritual experiences like I've had in my recovery. Um, some people come to a spiritual awakening over time. Um, some people come to a spiritual awakening as a result of these overwhelming experiences. I left the church that night and went on about life. And not long after that, I was still doing the jail meetings and I was working a different job. And I ended up leaving that job in the end of 2019, uh, and then found out that I needed a hip replacement not long after that. Um, so I got the hip replacement. I started to recover from that and uh, was ready to get up and start doing something to help my wife out, you know, try to help pay some of the bills, you know, carry some of the load around the house. Um, and that was when this little thing called COVID hit and everything shut down and unemployment was hitting record highs and I was fresh off a hip replacement and uh, just kind of conceded to the fact that nobody was going to hire me, you know. And I continued to pray about it. I continued to do the things that I've been taught to do in my recovery to maintain uh, my relationship with my higher power. And suddenly one day I got a call out of the blue, and it was a lady I'd never met before, and she was asking me about a job I'd never heard of before. Um, it was a peer support job, and I'd heard of peer support. I was certified, but you know I hadn't heard of this particular job. And she asked me if I wanted to interview for it, and I said yes, and I interviewed for it, and they offered me the position before I even filled out an application. It was a part-time position, but you know, at the time I had to take what I could get. And I kept praying about it and I kept praying about it because my wife and I were still struggling because I was only working 20 hours a week, you know. Um, and finally, my boss came to me one day and said, "Hey, we have a full-time position opening up." I talked to everyone involved with the program. Every one of them said that you would be the best fit for it. Uh, so what do you think? And my response was, I need to pray about it. I try not to make any choices today, big choices like that in my life, without praying about it. You know, I'm gonna go get something to eat. I don't need to pray about what I want to eat. I know what I want to eat, you know, but big choices in life, I try not to make those alone. So I went home that night and I prayed about it, and I was off the next day, and I meet with um, a man who was kind of like a spiritual advisor to me at the time. He was living in Lexington or Louisville, and I'm in northern Kentucky, so we were an hour and a half or so apart, and we would meet on Zoom, and we would read different spiritual literature and talk about it. Um, he asked me if I wanted to go early that day, and I said yes. And we got on Zoom together. And like I said, I'd already prayed about it the night before. We got on Zoom together, and immediately he was like, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Well, I wanted to tell you the good news, Philip." And he said, "Well, what's the good news?" And I said, "You know, they offered me a full-time job." And he said, "That's great. Did you take it?" And I said, "No, I told him I'd pray about it." He said, "That's great. Did you pray about it?" I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "That's great. Did you get your answer?" I said, "No, not yet." He said, "You will. Let's read." He was just a very straight to the point kind of guy. I loved him. He's unfortunately no longer with us today. So we started, excuse me, we started to read the book we were reading at the time, picked up right where we left off, and he read the first paragraph, and he stopped and he looked up at me and he said, "Do you see what he's doing there?" And I said, "No." And he said, "He's paraphrasing the 23rd Psalm." And I said, "What's the 23rd Psalm?" And he said, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And I looked at him and I said, "Philip, I think I just got my answer." And he said, "That's great. Your turn." Not everything for me in my recovery has been that obvious. Um, I'm a slow learner. Um, I can be pretty dense at times, you know. There are times when I'm praying, I'll ask my higher power to show me what it is he would have me do and to make it obvious for me because I might not see it the first time, you know. Um, for me, the way spirituality has affected my recovery is that I try my best, and none of us are perfect. I'm not an exception to that, but I try my best to do what my higher power would have me do. And there are occasions where I don't need to be told. You know, if someone needs help, I try to help them if I can. Um, there are occasions where I need to be beaten into a state of reasonableness before I'll do what I'm being told to do. Um, as with the resource pages and the YouTube channel. This is something that's been on my mind for a very long time, um, but I'm stubborn. And I think it doesn't matter with if it's religion or spirituality. Um, the biggest problem with either of them is I continue to get in the way. I continue to think and I continue to believe the stuff that I think. I continue to go about my day and do what I would have me do instead of what my higher power would have me do. And that's where the problems creep in. Spirituality to me is nothing more than a belief in something greater than me and a conscious effort to stay in contact with whatever that power is. A conscious contact that helps to determine what my next step is to be that day. I could probably continue on for hours about this, but I don't even know how long this video is yet. Um, so I'm going to end it for there tonight. Thank you all for listening. Um, thank you all for being a part of this journey for me, for helping me, for sharing um, my resource page, the resource page video. Please continue to share that. Please continue to get the word out there. You know, we want to fill up every one of those states with resources for people that need them. And I can't do that alone. So share that any chance you get on any social media platform you want to share it on. Share it by word of mouth. Um, share it with everyone you know. Please, let's get the word out there and let's help some people together. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and do my little closing. So thank you all again for watching. Please like and subscribe and share for more videos. I'm going to continue to try to do this as long as I have something to say. Um, and when I feel like I have nothing to say anymore, then I'll stop. If you're interested in helping with the national resource page, the local resource page, if you'd like to create your own resource page for a different state, um, please reach out to me at mattmason74@yahoo.com. Put in the subject line national page, resource page, something like that, so I know what it's about. Um, these pages are easy to create, they're easy to maintain, they're 100% free to create and maintain and access. And anyone who needs help with it, I am right here. I will walk you through it every step of the way, you know, and I'm not charging anybody to do that either. This is not about, uh, my channel is not about making money. My channel is about helping as many people as possible. And I hope that I was at least able to help one person today. Uh, thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.